This podcast contains adult language and stories of true crime. If you don't like laughing, crying, or being horrified at the actions of other humans, this podcast is not for you.
Solvers, welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of Resolved Mysteries.
Hi!
Hello!
If you are new, this is the show where we rewatch, recap, and give you the latest updates to cases featured on the show Unsolved Mysteries. And I'm Eliza.
I'm Alison.
And I'm Karlin.
And we're happy that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
We have got some seggies for you today. When I mean seggies, I mean we've got some seggies.
Honey, these are some seggies.
Seggies.
Oh, boy. No.
Okay. Many of you already know, and we appreciate your reviews so much, more than you can possibly know. For every review that we receive from you, we donate $1 to a different organization. And June's organization is Life After Hate. Their primary goal is to interrupt violence committed in the name of ideological or religious beliefs. And they do this through education, interventions, academic research, and outreach. And this organization was recommended to us by one of our patrons, Alison H. So thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Alison.
Thanks, Alison.
So leaving a review is a great way to support the show, and we appreciate them so much. We read all of them. Another way you can support the show is by joining us on Patreon, and if you subscribe at the $5 a month level or higher, you'll get access to ad-free episodes, 2 additional episodes a month, early access to listener short stacks, and goodies in the mail. And you can also recommend organizations or nonprofits that are close to your heart for us to donate to, like Alison did.
That's how we find a lot of the nonprofits that we donate to, and some of them are really interesting, like this one, and I had never heard of it.
No, I wouldn't know about it either.
Yeah, never would have known this was a thing. It's great.
Yeah. So we're going to jump right into Episode 3 of Season 4, Part 1, and what are we covering this episode?
I have the first segment, and it is an amnesia segment.
What? Who?
Wait, where am I? It's about a man named Tyler.
Can't wait. I don't even know what to say. I'm just so excited for this one. And then the second segment is a wanted segment about Joseph Maloney. Joseph Baloney, if you will.
Oh, wow. Come back for Part 2 next week. And my segment is an unexplained segment about the Shroud of Turin.
And then I wrap it up with an unexplained death segment, and it is the sad, sad story of Ethel Kidd.
I am fresh off that reenactment, and oh my.
Yes, we can talk about it. Very upsetting.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. Welcome to the amnesia segment.
Amnesia.
We have not had one of these in a while, and I forgot how much fun they are.
The most fun.
Did we have any in season?
We did not.
Think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we will have some more in the future, which is very exciting.
Okay.
So this amnesia segment is such a big deal that it starts the whole show before Robert Stack even begins talking.
Oh.
The show opens up, and we see a very dramatic scene of a man waking up in a hospital surrounded by doctors and nurses. And they're standing over him, and they're saying, "Do you know your name? Are you in any pain? Can you squeeze my hand?" And the man is whispering, help me. And it's so much.
It's really scary, and also hospital staff would never do that.
I mean, it just is very aggressive on their part.
Yeah.
So this man says that when he first regained consciousness, he was very afraid and confused. He didn't know who the people surrounding him were. He didn't know if they were going to help him or hurt him. So now he isn't saying he didn't know who they were, like he didn't know if their names were Betty or John. He's saying that he didn't know what doctors and nurses were.
Oh, my God.
And he didn't know if they could help you or if they were going to hurt you.
Because he's an alien.
Because he has amnesia.
Oh my God.
And that's totally how amnesia works. Let's keep going. So he says he wanted to know who they were, where he was, and who he was. He says that his mind felt like a big white sheet of paper. There was nothing there. He says fear was probably the most overriding feeling. Fear and confusion. Stack says that this man has amnesia. He is lost and alone. He has no idea where he's from, how old he is, or even if he has a family. Stack says that the man was found wandering in the desert 9 months ago. And this man, quote, remains frozen in a shadowy existence of not knowing who he is, with no past and no future. Perhaps you can help.
Alison should be like a carnival introducer to the weird freaks.
Oh my
freak
God,
show.
I would love to work at a sideshow. We almost had our wedding pictures taken on Coney Island.
Oh
at the
yeah,
sideshow.
that's a great
Yeah,
place
honey.
to do
Master
it.
of ceremonies of that freak show. You can do it.
You could.
I mean, in my own way, I am a master of ceremonies at a free show. Okay, so the real segment begins, because that was just a taste, so you know this is going to be good. The real segment begins, and Stack tells us that on January 20th, 1992, a young man was found wandering aimlessly through the desert, 30 miles from Las Vegas, Nevada. He was dressed in 3 layers of clothing, carried no identification, and had apparently been in the desert for at least 3 days. He was rushed to a hospital suffering from exposure and extreme dehydration. The man was diagnosed with psychogenic amnesia, a condition caused by severe emotional trauma. While this mysterious young man quickly regained his physical health, his memory remained completely and totally blocked. The hospital staff named him Tyler Doe.
Psychogenic amnesia.
This is emotional trauma amnesia.
Right. But
I
today
don't know
we
the
would just
name.
call that like mental trauma, right?
Yeah, that would probably be dissociative trauma or something.
Dissociative, yeah.
So, like I said, the hospital staff named him Tyler Doe, and they were able to obtain government assistance for him with a job and an apartment. Stack says that in the past 9 months, several tantalizing clues have surfaced, but Tyler is still a man without an identity. Tonight, he desperately hopes that someone watching can finally tell him who he is. Authorities in Las Vegas were baffled. They found no one reported missing who matched Tyler's description. There was no record of his fingerprints with the FBI, the DOD, or the CIA, which to me makes sense.
Yeah.
However, the doctors did find 2 clues: evidence of hairline fractures in the knuckles of both hands and what is believed to be an old gunshot wound on his right thigh.
That had me intrigued.
Then another clue surfaced. While talking with another patient from San Diego, California, Tyler said he got the eerie feeling that he once lived there. But the recollections were vague and lacked any detail until he underwent hypnosis. And I have to mention that, as we always say, we watch this with subtitles to make it easier to transpose. The subtitles gave his full name and totally spoiled the rest of the segment for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they didn't do that on mine.
That sucks.
Rude.
But I'll save it for you guys. I won't spoil it for you. So Tyler says that under hypnosis, it kind of sharpened the memories and brought life to them. He said the other memories would come up and just come out of his mouth, like he was looking at a piece of paper. And I think we have another clue about Tyler. He really enjoys a paper analogy.
He loves paper. Honey, I was so confused. I do not follow.
Yeah, I'm getting vague recollections of Dunder Mifflin. Tyler says he started to remember a lot about beaches, the areas around beaches, and military bases. And then he gets super specific about those bases. He even says that they bring the plane across Harvard Boulevard there. He's like, oh yeah, over there on Harvard Boulevard, they bring the planes across. It was very casual. It didn't seem like he was really suffering to remember any of this. He says he just really got a sense of belonging. Like San Diego was the place he needed to be. And I have been to San Diego, and I can say everybody feels that way. San Diego, it's beautiful, the weather is perfect, and everybody is cool. So Stack says that under hypnosis, Tyler also vividly recalled flying over San Diego. He was struck by the certainty that he knew how to pilot an airplane. Or maybe he was just in a plane?
Yeah.
That's like very confident for a person who doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
Give me a plane. Let me see what I can do with a plane.
And then for this next part, oh my gosh, that guy's nuts to do that.
Tyler felt that getting behind the controls of a plane might trigger some additional memories. Tyler gets in a plane with another pilot who's, I guess, assisting him in flight. God, I don't remember what the name is of the man. The other pilot is sort of talking him through and says to Tyler, oh, do you want to land the plane? And
oh, can I just put my life in your hands? Would that be okay? You have no idea who you are.
Die.
But yeah, just do it.
Yeah, he's like, just make sure you check your altimeter.
He's a flight instructor,
He's instructor,
instructing him what to do. The instructor concluded that Tyler had flown before. That will come up later. More clues emerged. Even though Tyler can't remember his own name, he can single-handedly dismantle and rebuild a sophisticated race car engine. He also possesses highly developed skills at scuba diving, martial arts, and computer programming. So we know that Tyler, in his former life, had a lot of time and money for these hobbies because those are some expensive frickin' hobbies. Mm-hmm. Most notably, though, is Tyler's knowledge of the mechanisms found on the Navy's A-6 attack plane. Maybe he's a spy. Many clues suggest that Tyler may have some kind of military background, but no one can find a record of him in the Navy or any other branch of the service, probably because Tyler isn't his real name. All of this information was a red flag. Okay, so this guy is a highly accomplished pilot. He claims he's a scuba diver. He claims he does martial arts and a computer programmer hacker guy. He's also 23 years old.
Yes.
So how much time would he truly have been a pilot for the Air Force in the military?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I looked it up because I truly believed from the jump that this guy was full of shit, because almost all amnesia segments are full of shit. Or they're like the one that one of you covered where the elderly black man went missing and was seen around.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And his family couldn't find him.
Yeah.
Which probably was more like dementia.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So being a party pooper and a Debbie Downer, I looked up what it takes to become a pilot in the Air Force, right? Mm-hmm. So he's 23. You need a bachelor's degree. They prefer a degree in the sciences, such as aerospace engineering, physics, computer science, or chemistry.
Okay.
You must be an officer commissioned at the rank of second lieutenant. And if you're among the select few, you'll undergo training at 2 stages at the Air Education and Training Command Base in Randolph Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And this includes introductory flight training, which is 25 hours of hands-on flying for the ROTC, and specialized undergraduate pilot training, and that's a year-long program. So let's say that he graduated high school at 18, he went for his bachelor's. That's 4 years. And then he made second lieutenant in a year, and then took a year-long training course. He would have to be like 25 years old. So even if he went to school and got his bachelor's in 2 years, which you can absolutely do, he would only have been in the air for like 12 to 18 months. Mm-hmm. It seems super fishy.
It does seem fishy. I do have a cousin, though, who is currently in college, I believe, and in the Air Force learning to be a pilot. And he flies, alone.
But then he doesn't become an Air Force pilot until he graduates?
Yeah.
Okay. So even if he was doing it simultaneously, what are you, like 22 when you graduate from college?
He would have just have to be starting to do that. Yeah.
And then the martial arts, the scuba stuff, did he have an opportunity to show these people that he could do that? All of it seems like a bit much.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, if you were going to create an identity, if you were a 23-year-old guy faking amnesia and you were going to create an identity, wouldn't you want to create an identity where you were super good at karate and like
the most interesting man in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just, to me, right from the jump was like, Okay, come on.
Yeah.
And I know, I suck for this. I'm sorry. Someone's going to be like, oh, don't do the segment if you don't like it. And it's like, I do like it, but I'm also calling bullshit on it.
Yeah. Even just in his very first interviews, I oscillated between like, okay, he seems kind of genuine. And then I would oscillate back to like, I kind of want to slap him.
Yeah, he seems so genuine. It was just too James Bondy for me. Like you said, an international man of mystery. Mm-hmm. So Tyler says that he is in kind of a difficult point in his life where he can't move ahead with himself. He can't go on with his life. He says he can't do anything. He's almost an illegal alien.
Ew.
He has no identification of any form, so he can't get a job or a car, and he's feeling frustrated. So Stack says that a county psychiatrist diagnosed Tyler as a genuine victim of amnesia. He says that last month, this case took a sense of urgency when the state funding which provided his job and apartment was abruptly cut off. Tyler has to figure out what he's going to do because he's not going to have any place to live and no income. So then this must have been re-edited for Film Rise because Stack then says, on the night of the broadcast, Tyler's search for his identity came to a poignant but unsettling conclusion. Within minutes, Tyler was reunited with his mother by phone, but as more details emerged, some began to believe that Tyler may not have lost his memory at all.
Saying what we've been thinking.
So, Stack says, that evening, Tyler had gathered with his friends to watch the show. Before his segment even aired in Las Vegas, a man from Boise, Idaho, called the telecenter and identified Tyler as his son. Unsolved Mysteries immediately contacted Tyler, and there's a video of them calling him, and he has this look on his face.
He's sweating. He is sweating.
He's sweating.
I'm sure he's nervous, but I think he's like, okay, this shit is about to hit the fan. The producer on the phone tells Tyler that he has located his father, his mother, and his wife, who he has been separated from since February of 1990, and he has 2 children.
First of all, we never see the call happen. This is our first time seeing the call happen, which is cool. We never get to hear them.
Oh, you mean on the show? I know,
yes.
That was so cool. Yes.
It was awesome.
But he seemed genuinely surprised and shocked.
He was a good actor.
Yeah.
If he's acting, he was a really good actor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kept going back and forth. I was like, okay, maybe he really is.
Yeah.
Real tears.
Oh, yeah.
When you'd hear the call room or producer, whoever it was, talking to him, guy say, and you have 2 kids. His eyes got big. He seemed surprised. It's tricky.
Yeah. It's tricky. It is. So the producer also tells him that his wife and mother live in Iowa and his father is in Idaho. Stack says that Tyler learned that his real name was Arthur Paul Beale, but he goes by Paul. He was 23 years old, and before he was stricken with amnesia, he lived in Boise, Idaho. Stack says in a few minutes, a nervous Paul Beale called his mother and stepfather that he couldn't remember. Lynn Beale, Paul's mother, answers, and they have a conversation. Paul is crying, and he says he's scared, and he doesn't remember her. She says she'll help him.
She was a sweetie.
Yeah, she was a honey. Stack tells us that the emotional phone call lasted 20 minutes. Stack says a short time later, the case of Paul Beale took a stunning and unexpected twist. And then they cut to Paul Beale getting arrested.
I was like, what? What's happening?
I mean, I forgot my memory. I forgot that I did that
forgot my
crime.
memory.
But we also got to see the arrest.
Yeah. Did they
see
call
everything.
Unsolved Mysteries? I don't get it.
I don't know if I get to like the process of it, but yeah, I guess they got a call from the Boise police.
What?
But we'll get to it.
Okay.
So Paul Beale is getting arrested. An officer is asking him what his date of birth is, and Beale is saying he doesn't know. And he's saying, I have amnesia. And the police officer does not look convinced. Stack tells us that North Los Angeles police placed Paul under arrest for grand larceny. Stack then tells us the reason, and it is like the lamest crime ever.
Oh, no. Oh, no, I forgot. Okay.
I don't even get it. Okay, go. I don't even get it.
Paul Beal was wanted by Boise police in connection with a stolen shipment of frozen food. Literal frozen food like Lean Cuisines and Hungry Man Salisbury steaks.
What is the purpose?
What kind of goofy crime is that? That is the silliest thing I've ever heard.
Okay, so I'm going to go back real quick to Alex Cooper.
Yes.
If this guy can fucking fake amnesia over stealing frozen food, then yes, Alex Cooper could lie to his family for 35 years.
Exactly. It was so weird to watch these two episodes back to back because I kept getting them mixed up.
They have so many parallels. So, and then the best part of this scene is one of the arresting officers asks Paul, quote, "How long have you had amnesia?" And Paul replies, 9 months. And then the officer says, "How do you remember that if you have amnesia?"
I know. The level of snark. I was just like, okay.
He was snarking it up, and I loved it. So, the next night, Lynn Beal comes to post bail and picks up her son at the police station. Paul walks out of the door, and Lynn is crying, and Paul is super stiff, and Stack nails it when he says, quote, "Their reunion was both emotional and awkward."
Yes. I never thought I'd hear Stack say awkward, but...
He called it, and like, that to me, that moment put it in for me. I was like, okay, he's acting.
Yeah.
Right? Because the way he looked at her, he was trying to look like he didn't know her, but the way he just went and stood really close to her with his arms down, it was so fucking weird. It was so fucking weird.
Exactly.
And then he just said, "I don't remember you." Like, it's literally like, what would someone with amnesia say? They would say, "I don't remember you. I better say that."
Yes, girls. Yes, my sisters.
The way he was allowing her to touch him in such a familiar way. She was rubbing his arms, rubbing his back, putting her hands all over him, and he was allowing it, which to me was a huge tell.
Yes, and I didn't even talk about that because I was just like, if anybody after this point thinks that he isn't faking it, I don't know. I don't have anything for you because it was clearly it was a very thoughtful performance, but it was definitely a performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to believe it.
Me too.
Because I feel so bad for this mom. Then.
Oh my God.
The balls to lie to your mother that way.
Yeah.
The balls to go on this show.
Yes. We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Stole frozen food. Oh my God.
I
die.
Gosh. You gotta get that hot pocket.
Oh, I mean, I love a pepperoni hot pocket, honey.
So, yeah, like you said, Paul looks at her and he says, "I don't remember you." And Lynn is such a honey. She's like, "You will. It'll just take time." And then Karlin, you're right. She's very physical with him.
Yes.
And it's just very...
Yeah, like I can understand going in for a hug, knowing that's my mom. I'm happy to know who my mom is, but the way he was just not afraid to have her be in his business, I was just like, that's pretty familiar.
Yeah. So Lynn Beal says it's strange being with Paul and not remembering her or knowing who she is. She wants to make him remember everything. She says she wants to make sure that she can do things to help him. She doesn't want to, quote, push it back any farther. She wants to reinforce happy thoughts and good memories. Lynn says she just wanted him to know that I love him, we all love him. And she's relieved that he's safe and alive. Stack says the reunion was not only tempered by Paul's amnesia, but the criminal charge from the frozen food heist.
Frozen food heist.
Apparently in Boise, Paul was a salesman for a food supply company, and on January 5th, 1991, he left for Las Vegas to sell a shipment of frozen food. He never returned to Boise. On January 25th, Paul surfaced with the empty truck in Boulder City, Nevada. He was questioned by the police, but he wasn't arrested at the time. So I think that's how the Nevada police were right there, was because they kind of had a history with him already. And that's probably also when they were arresting him, they were like, yeah, sure, you have amnesia.
So did he claim that? Oh, you mean that time. Yeah. When he's actually arrested, yeah.
Yeah, they kept saying that he just showed up with this empty truck, so I don't know what kind of excuses he gave them or what. But basically, they were like, when you get back to Boise, they're going to arrest you.
I don't even understand. How much money is in this frozen food truck? What are we talking?
I will tell you.
Oh, I can't wait. I bet. What is the value of a Hot Pocket?
So they interviewed Detective Bob Bauman of the Boulder City Police Department at his desk behind him, I noticed, is a missing persons flyer. And it's for Jacob Wetterling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that, but I didn't know. Okay, I didn't look closely.
Jacob Wetterling was a really well-known case at the time, and it was eventually solved by Joy Baker, who's a blogger and featured on the amazing first season of the podcast In the Dark. Mm-hmm. So it's really good. But anyway, he says that at this time, his impression of Beale was that he was very intelligent, very well-versed, very well-educated, very clean-cut, and extremely talkative. Never be extremely talkative when you're talking to a police officer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just shut up.
So Lynn Beale says that Paul wouldn't do something like that. She then goes on to say that he has done some really stupid stuff, just like anybody else. And he's made mistakes, but nothing to the degree where he was actually breaking the law. So Detective Bauman told Paul that Boise was going to get a warrant together for him and that it was going to be grand larceny felony. Bauman told Paul that he had to go back to Boise, and Paul said that he was definitely going to go back up there. And 3 days later, he was found in the desert with amnesia.
Right.
He's like covered in pizza sauce and like...
He's got like a popsicle in his pocket. Frozen corn comes out of his shirt. Detective Bauman obviously thinks that Paul is full of it. He says, amnesia is easy. I don't know. Who are you? I don't know.
Yes.
Where are you from? I don't know. Do you know anything? I don't know. It's just easy.
That made me laugh.
No truer words.
It is easy, but it's also, you do have to do some free. He's really adding to it. Tyler is with this acting. Like it could be easy, but he's still got to have his hobbies.
Well, he's extremely talkative, so he still has a lot to say.
Yeah.
And it's like he did a lot of careful planning, but like up until the point where he realized he couldn't live for free forever. Mm-hmm. He couldn't live without a license forever. Like, he did not think beyond like a couple months.
Well, he did a lot of planning, but the only thing he didn't take into account was how much he loved to talk about himself, which is really difficult if you have amnesia.
Yeah.
But he is a very, well, you know, in my opinion, he's a very good actor. Mm-hmm. So Bauman does say, and for a guy like him, he's convincing. Mm-hmm. And then they just keep digging this narrative into my eyes at this point, and I'm like, when will this end?
Digging it into the eyes is so disgusting.
I was like, when will this be over? So then it cuts to Paul and Lynn looking at photos, and he's asking, who's this?
No, he goes, is this the four of you? To a picture of four people.
Is this the fourth?
That's what he said.
Yeah, he does. And she's, even then, she's kind of like, yep, at Thanksgiving. Like, you can tell this is getting a little old for her.
Thanksgiving of this year. Come the fuck on, Paul.
Oh, my God.
So, Lynn says that this doesn't feel like her son. She says that they were very close. She says that she could tell by his eyes when she first saw him that he really didn't recognize her. If he was faking it, there was no way he could have faked that.
Yeah.
That's his mom.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. If she doesn't believe that it's real, then her son is a frozen pea and popsicle stealing knucklehead. Mm-hmm. She's got to stick with the fact that he has amnesia.
It's the only way.
Or it's going to be a real come to frozen Jesus moment for her.
Here's the other tell for me. And of course, the segments don't show everything. But when he hears that he has two kids, if he really had amnesia, wouldn't you be like, oh my God, I have two kids. I want to go see them right away because I'm sure I'll remember them. And that'll bring it all back.
And they haven't seen me in 9 months.
They haven't seen me. Yeah.
They must be terrified.
Yeah.
They must be scared.
Yeah. No mention of the children from here on out,
No
basically.
mention. Nope.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, we haven't had a reveal like this in so long.
So good.
Juicy.
Okay. Paul Beale says he is not faking. He says that this experience is a terrifying nightmare, and he says he'd give anything in the world to remember right now. Then the update says, Paul Beale returned to Boise where he served 90 days for petty theft.
I scoffed louder than I've ever scoffed in my life.
I too scoffed.
All of this, Paul, for 90 days.
3 days lost in the desert, 9 months of amnesia to get out of 90 days of prison. What a puss.
What?
Just serve your time.
Serve your goddamn time for your frozen food incident.
Well, they, the Nevada police had really scared him because they said grand larceny, and it somehow got down to petty theft.
Well, you know what? We're going to circle back to it, but this amnesia idea, maybe not such a bad idea. Because it would have been a felony, but it's difficult to convict somebody who claims that they can't remember anything. So I have a bunch of stuff to just fill in because we know that's where it landed. Mm-hmm. But, buckle up, buckaroo, because it gets cuckoo bananas.
What?
Oh my gosh, click it or take it. Go.
Click it or take it.
Click it or take it. Oh, I get it.
Okay, so Pat and Lynn Beale had tuned into NBC's Unsolved Mysteries Wednesday night, but neither was watching when a young man with amnesia pleaded that anyone with knowledge of his identity should notify authorities. It took calls from friends who had seen the show to alert the Beales that their son Paul was the amnesiac featured.
They happened to be watching, but they missed the segment with their son.
Maybe they were Unsolved Mystery and chill, maybe they're
they're just relaxed. They're all for a 2-screen experience, so they're looking at their calculator and looking at
they're like, look, it says boobless.
If I turn it upside down, it says boobs.
I love it. Quote, it's like a weight lifted off your shoulders that you've been dragging around for 7 or 8 months, Pat Beale said. Pat is Paul's stepfather. So Pat and Lynn Beale are natives of Southern California. They moved from Montana to Burlington. Paul Beale lived in Burlington only a couple of months before joining the Navy. Pat says, quote, he doesn't remember her. It's probably extremely emotional for her. They're both really scared. Lynn is absolutely elated to be with him. And at the same moment, she's really depressed that he has no memory of her. But the show has been a tremendous help to all of us. So apparently, Paul Beale went to Nevada in January to sell gourmet food for Bon Appetit, a food distributor in Boise, Idaho. Oh my gosh. When he didn't contact the company or return to Boise, the company filed charges. Ooh. And police never recovered the $1,600 worth of food.
What?
$1,600, which, before you're like, well, what was that worth back then? $3,200.
Oh my God.
All of this for $3,200.
What did he do with it? He sold it and kept the money?
Oh, I'll tell you. So he was charged with unauthorized control, which meant that he had the right to possess the property, but he disposed of it in an unauthorized manner.
Okay.
Beale sold the food to pay for lodging and other costs in Las Vegas.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Tiny little baby got crazy in Vegas and had to sell the frozen food to cover his ass.
Oh,
I hate him.
God, what a douchey crime.
Dude, it is a bro as old as time. I mean, come on.
And then what he does afterwards. It's ridiculous.
All of this because you went on a bender. This is what hell you hath wrought.
And he's like, you know what? What better time for my rebirth as the most interesting man in the world? Like, what?
Yeah, so do you have... Okay, keep going. But do you have information on the flying stuff?
On the fly? Yeah, I do.
Okay. What the... This.
Yeah. So basically, Boise, Idaho, Paul got to Vegas, went on his first bender, lost his goddamn mind for a couple days, spent all of the money he didn't have, and then had to sell his Hot Pockets to get that money back. Oh, God. Is there anything more? Oh, whatever.
The audacity.
The douche-dacity, honestly.
Okay, so he shows up in Nevada. The police... How do the police find him when he's there?
So I think probably his company called the company that he was supposed to deliver to. He never delivered to them. And I think they might have thought that he got robbed on the road or something.
So he didn't deliver to them. So who did he sell it to?
We don't know.
Who's buying?
Probably hung ass over people on the streets. Like,
No. He probably met somebody in a casino and was like, I'll take that off your hands for $1,600. Like,
But you have to have like a refrigerated truck to take that somewhere. It's such a weird item to sell to people.
so weird.
I could easily see that happening. Like, I could see him meeting someone in a casino and the guy being like, I'll take it off your hands. And if it was like, it said it was gourmet frozen food, which I do not understand, but whatever. And I'm sure it was probably thousands of dollars worth of food, I would think, in this like big truck.
Yeah.
So I could see someone being like, yeah, I got a guy for that. Come on. He's got a truck. He'll take this food and he'll sell it at nothing. He'll sell it to the casinos. He'll sell it to the restaurants. So I could see that. I mean, my mom had boyfriends where shit was constantly falling off trucks for us. So that is not a shocker to me at all. Like, almost every electronic and every piece of jewelry that my mother was given or I was given for most of my childhood fell off the back of a fucking truck. So I know people who would buy frozen food from a weird guy in a truck.
Yeah. Totally.
I wish it were him in the parking lot with the doors open, just like hawking frozen food.
Steakums! Who wants steakums? I got steakums here. So Alan White, who was the 88 County Deputy Prosecutor at the time, said it was uncertain whether the alleged crime was committed because of the amnesia. Did he get amnesia and forget he was supposed to bring this food to this place, so then he just sold it? And then White went on to say how difficult it is to prosecute to prove that a, quote, amnesiac is acting with criminal intent. So I think he probably would have gone down he probably would have pled out of the felony, but got down to petty theft, because if you just keep saying that you can't remember.
So he just stuck to that.
He stuck to it. Also, Beale kept his last name, but he also kept the name Tyler.
Ew.
So he started going by Tyler Beale.
That's weird.
So something really terrible happens. And I didn't tell you in the beginning because this whole segment is really, really funny. But something terrible happens.
Oh, no.
And now I don't want you to retroactively feel like you shouldn't have made fun of this segment, because it is very funny.
Oh, no.
Okay. So Tyler eventually settled in Danville, California. Rebuilding a new life, Beale worked as a bartender and started a new family. And then in 2007, Tyler Beale suffered a heart attack that deprived oxygen to his brain for long enough to cause significant
amnesia?
brain damage.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
I know. It's terrible.
Oh, my God.
So now, apparently, he's now living in an assisted care facility, unable to care for himself or remember much of anything that he claimed to have reclaimed in the years since he came out of the desert.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
I know. So it's super sad, but it does not take away from the audacity of this.
You're right. It doesn't.
Okay. So I have like some, because I mean, do you see how we feel? You see how we are vibing right now? What do you think this cesspool of the internet is like when it comes to this story?
Ooh.
So a lot of people talk about this case, and most fascinating, a lot of people who are very close to Paul talk about this case.
Ooh.
Todd Muller, a Sitcoms Online user, posted this in 2009 after he spoke to a friend who was close to Paul. Quote, "You are wondering how things turned out for Arthur Paul Beale. It is not a pretty tale. Bond was posted by his father at the request of his sister. His father also made restitution to the company for the missing frozen seafood. That's why it was so expensive.
Okay.
Shoot.
It was like scallops and stuff.
Yeah, and damages to their vehicle. All charges were dropped. Paul disowned his father because his father did not believe the amnesia story. And he has not seen or spoken to him since 1992.
Oh my God.
Sad.
Paul created a new life and identity and goes by Tyler Beale to this day. He had 2 children and was going through a divorce at the time of his disappearance and never bothered to enforce the joint custody that he was granted, and only paid child support when it was garnished.
Ew.
He moved to Northern California and became a bartender in Danville. He had 2 more children with his live-in girlfriend. In November of 2007, he had a heart attack at age 39.
Whoa.
He now lives in a facility and spends most of his days in a wheelchair, unable to do anything.
Oh, gosh.
On a side note, he was, quote, missing for so long because no one bothered to report him as a missing person because everyone assumed that he was on the run and didn't want to be arrested or found.
Right, because he committed a crime.
Exactly. This person goes on to say, Paul was kind of bitter about how he was portrayed on the show, and the only people that believed the amnesia story were his mother, stepfather, and 2 sisters.
Whoa.
He became sort of a joke and did not like it one bit. So then I found another article, and it says, when Tyler Beale suffered a severe heart attack, leaving his 4 children with no income for rent, bills, and medical insurance expenses, friends of the much-loved bartender decided to help. Beale, who was a bar manager at Minar, is the sole provider. So this is interesting. It says he's the sole provider for his children. But I do not think that that's true. Because his ex-wife has a lot to say. Beale's friends and coworkers organized a fund to raise money for the family during the difficult time. Quote, I don't think people understand how much this means to our family, said Beale's wife, Jenny Peterson. There really are no words. So the internet, of course, thinks that Paul is full of it. Somebody named Monday Day posted in 2010 on Sitcoms Online that her friend had dated Paul around the time of his amnesia. So in between his divorce and him getting amnesia. So she said, quote, I spoke to Lisa, and she told me what she remembers about him and his military service, but was not pleased to be reminded of his existence.
Oh.
Beale had told her that his family owned a ranch in Montana that shared a property line with the Fonda Ranch, like the Peter Fonda Ranch.
Wow.
He had been a ski instructor and an Olympic hopeful before breaking his ankle. He showed her a nasty scar on his ankle to somehow prove this story, and he had expensive ski equipment and Oakley sunglasses, so you know it's legit. When she confronted him, he claimed that he had been in the special ops and that the ranch/ski instructor story was just a cover and part of his new identity. This is before the amnesia.
Oh, my God.
He also told her that Beale was not his real last name. Lisa said that it was very scary how convincing he could be and how he seemed to believe his own lies.
Oh, that's the scariest of all.
Mm-hmm.
And that explains that phone call with his mother where he was crying. And
Yeah.
So I want to say that as I was researching, I saw this comment by Meg the Egg.
Love her.
How do we not know who she is in real life?
contact Meg
we
the
should reach
Egg.
out.
Meg the Egg completely nailed my earlier skepticism when we were like going through the lists of his hobbies, his special skills. So she says, quote, I didn't buy it the first time. I saw it and I don't buy it now. I was always very skeptical about that bit about knowing about military aircraft and apparently having the ability to pilot a plane. Anyone can pick up a copy of Jane's and learn about military equipment. And almost anyone can learn how to pilot a civilian aircraft. The guy was only 23 years old at the time. He realistically should have had zero or very little flight time beyond flight school if he was, in fact, a military pilot. I had the distinct feeling that this was probably someone who had been in the Navy or Air Force for a time and knew just enough to concoct a mystique, like something in a Soldier of Fortune feature, as part of this amnesia charade. After all, if you had the opportunity to completely fabricate an identity out of thin air, wouldn't you want to be an international man or woman of mystery?
Exactly.
A super cool guy? I always got the feeling that's exactly what was going on there. He apparently was in the habit of lying about the details of his service. Then she goes on. I guess I can say she, Meg, I don't know. And then they go on. Bottom line, Beale isn't the only person featured on a UM Amnesia segment who has been wanted for a crime. I agree with Cars 1986 and others that once he found out how difficult life was going to be without a social security number and the fact that he was losing his government assistance, he decided to go public with his amnesia claims in order to simultaneously create a built-in defense, I don't remember committing the crime, and an attempt to garner sympathy and support from droves of people. Meg the Egg, you are the best.
Girl, I always
love her.
align with her thoughts on the message boards. Always.
She's great.
And just that's a great point. So just about the flying, which proves he is so scary that he's that confident to land that fucking plane.
No shit.
That is...
He brought a total stranger into the air with him. because he fully believes that he can, like, do anything.
The
that he says he can do.
narcissism. It's like that one podcast where
Dr. Death.
Yep.
It's like
Exactly.
Dr. Death.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh my God.
If I believe it, I can do it.
Disgusting.
White guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come for us, but we've been avoiding saying it the whole time. Come on. This is unbelievable. And it's white guy level is all that it is.
Yeah. Again, they were talking about how he could fly a plane. Todd Mueller says, I think this part was a bit overplayed by UM. As a pilot and flight instructor myself, I can tell you that this is very subjective. Beale flew with a certified flight instructor, CFI, in the segment who allowed him to manipulate the controls under his authority and supervision. In part of that scene, Beale is turning the plane, and you can hear the instructor tell him to watch his altitude as he turns. Then UM says he successfully brought the plane in for a landing, and the CFI said Beale had definitely flown before. I can talk almost anyone through landing a small plane, provided they had some basic ability in hand-eye coordination. Doing it all on your own is a different story. I've had people who have never flown before and take to it very well. They are able to manipulate the plane very well with instruction. Others are not so gifted, and they usually require a bit more instruction. The CFI on UM actually says, not bad. And that is far from, wow, you did that all on your own with no input from me, so you must be a pilot.
Yeah, he didn't say, like, you've definitely done this before. Like,
Yeah, and Stack even said the guy said he's rusty, but
Exactly.
Yeah. But still, the confidence, like, I would never, ever be like,
Yes.
I'm going to pretend like I can fly this thing. Even if Todd Mueller could walk me through it, I'm not risking that. There's no way.
Hell no.
way.
I can't even play a video game.
Yeah.
I am not flying a plane. Come on. So Mueller goes on, so while he may have flown before and showed some aptitude in flying, I don't think that means that Beale had, quote, definitely flown before. I think he certainly had some abilities in multiple areas, but I really suspect this was overplayed by UM and Beale. When they list off all of his abilities, it sounds like a cross between MacGyver and James Bond, and I think most of it was not true.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so now we are getting into a portion of the segment that I need to caveat by saying all of the information I'm going to now provide to you moving forward is from Beale's ex-wife.
Oh, mama. I love it.
Okay?
And
it.
wait, hold on. And they separated in 1990.
Uh-huh.
He was like 21 or 22 when they separated?
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay.
Because the other woman he had children with, he was never married to. It was just his
I don't
girlfriend.
know. I think she was his partner, but they call her his wife in that newspaper article,
Right.
so I'm not sure.
Okay, but this is from the first wife.
Yes.
Okay.
And so her name is Stephanie, and she has been posting about this for a very long time. Initially, she was posting to tell people to stop talking about it because she had young children.
Right.
Sad.
She thought that her kids believed this story, and she didn't want their kids logging on and like seeing all these people saying all this hateful stuff about their father. She also contacted the show to have the segment pulled, but they wouldn't pull it. But what they did was, in the original version that we saw, they didn't blur out his face when he was arrested, but the Spike TV version, they blurred out his face when he was arrested, which is very funny because the whole segment was about Paul Beale.
Right.
They say it is Paul Beale, and then
Yeah.
Paul Beale is convicted. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But she wanted this case to go away. So we're going through about 7 years now of her. Well, I mean, she's been living this since 1992.
Yeah.
Some people were accusing her of being salty and being a bitch and being
Oh, of course.
not able to get over it. People are like, she sounds bitter. She's not bitter. She's pissed off.
Yeah.
Because she's allowed to be
Rightfully pissed off.
So she has a lot to say. So I'm just going to read you like excerpts of what I pulled.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay, so this is all her. I have been irritated with Unsolved Mysteries for years because they would not remove these episodes from their TV rotation. Couldn't they have utilized the airtime to feature cases that have never been solved and
True.
possibly help somebody else?
True.
Preach.
Perhaps my complaints led to his face being blurred in the Spike TV re-release. Let me introduce myself. I am his ex-wife. Beale is the last name of his stepfather. He did serve in the Navy as a sonar tech. He never had any flight training. He broke his ankle playing softball. He spent most of his military career on limited duty doing 21-gun salutes at funerals, and then he received a medical discharge. He was identified by his father, who was watching the show, and Unsolved Mysteries contacted me by phone to confirm his identity.
Whoa.
I refused to go to Vegas because I was trying to divorce him, and I didn't want myself or my children to be on national television.
Oh, my gosh.
His father paid for his bail, even though it shows his mother claiming him.
Oh.
The charges were dropped because his father paid full restitution to the food company, so it just went down to petty theft. Paul disowned his father, even though the man had saved his butt because he did not believe his amnesia story. She says, I have never known what to think about the amnesia claims. I gave him a fair divorce by default with joint custody and minimal child support. He did not keep in contact with his children, and I did not have the child support raised or go after him for their medical expenses. I kept the same last name as my children, even after I remarried, to make it easier for Paul to locate his children. Instead, I would get angry phone calls from various girlfriends. The last phone call came in the fall of 1999. I remember the year because I was home on maternity leave. I don't know if the calls stopped because I changed my name or if he finally straightened up. His current condition is pathetic. He had a heart attack in November of 2007 and is in a nursing home. He's in a wheelchair and his memory fades in and out. The nursing home where he lives has a substandard ranking, and there have been problems with him falling out of his wheelchair. My oldest son and I did discuss the possibility of him getting legal guardianship of his father and relocating Paul to a better facility, but it was decided against because there are younger half-siblings who don't deserve to have their father moved out of state and taken away from them.
Wow.
Then in 2013, so she would come on, give a huge post, go away for a while, and then read everybody's comments and come back on and then address people's comments.
And this is on Sitcoms Online or Facebook? Sitcoms Online.
Oh,
Okay.
my gosh.
So after she posted that, everybody was like, she's bitter. She's vengeful. She can't get over him. She's obsessed with him. All of this trash.
After reading that, are you fucking kidding?
People came for her. Well, there was also one of his ex-girlfriends was on Sitcoms Online and was attacking her. So then she was attacking her back and they were like, she's a bitch.
Oh, my God.
They don't like a woman that is a little spiky. Nobody likes a spiky bitch.
Well, and she's just like, here is what actually happened.
Yeah.
And for them to, gross.
Yeah. So in 2013, she stated, sorry if I came across as being vengeful when my emotion in this matter has been annoyed, and it is directed at myself for being the fool that married him.
Aww.
I received private messages and emails from strangers and amused phone calls from people that know me every time the episode is aired. I am from a small community where the whole unsolved mystery thing quickly became a joke, and my sense of humor has been sorely tried. It is kind of admirable that an episode that was taped 20 plus years ago is still alive and kicking, but I wish that it had happened to someone else. I have kept an eye on things for about a month, and everyone here seems to be honestly curious and relatively benign. I will once again try to answer the questions that were left unanswered. The wound on his inner thigh was caused by a mishap with fireworks and not a bullet.
Oh, my God. Of course it was.
Of course it was.
Okay.
I am certain that the hairline fractures in his hands that were detected by the x-ray at his initial assessment were caused by his tendency to punch walls and other objects.
I was just going to say, he's a wall puncher.
Oh, I mean, this guy is like textbook, bro.
Yeah.
Textbook.
Yes.
She stated, I had the misfortune of marrying a con man, and then I tried to keep the children from realizing that their father was a fraud. I now know that the kids always knew the truth about their father, but they assumed that I believed his stupid stories.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Someone asked her if she believed that he had amnesia, and she said, none of this matters anymore. The guy has been stuck in a wheelchair for almost 10 years, but let me count the ways. Number 1, I was contacted by Unsolved Mysteries the night that it aired, and I gave them all of my contact information, including the fact that he had 2 small children. He never inquired about the children.
Yep.
Really?
2, he had 3 phone numbers given to him. One was for his father in Idaho that originally identified him, mine, and his mother. Instead of calling the guy that identified him or the woman with his children, he chose to call his mother, who would be the most likely to believe his story.
Yes.
Yeah.
3, replayed the, quote, reunion scene when he gets bailed out of jail, and you can see by his body language that he recognizes his mother but holds himself stiff to act like he doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh.
4, when he went back to Boise to clear up the theft charges, he repeatedly made mistakes when interacting with his father. 5, people that he previously knew showed up at his court hearing, and he initially made eye contact and started to wave, but stopped himself and quickly looked away.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
We love to see it. We love it.
He then refused to look in their direction again.
Yeah, that is such a great test. Like, you get them in a room full of people.
Uh-huh.
And if you're making eye contact with specific people and not others, that's a tell right there. Even if you don't start to wave.
100%.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So, number 6, he chose to stay west instead of returning to his family in the Midwest. His sister's mother and stepfather all lived in Iowa. His children were also in Iowa. A normal person that had lost their memory would have chosen to be around people that might spark their memory.
Yes.
7, he always swore that he didn't get his memory back, but on one visit that he made to see the children, he became excited that Taco John's was still in business because that was his favorite place to eat when he was in high school.
Oh my God.
I hate him so much.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And then she closes out with, he also made numerous mistakes every time that I spoke to him. So,
I love her.
I love her too. I love her. Then another poster asked her if he was in the Navy because of his, quote, memories of the airplane and fixing engines, etc. She said, he graduated high school in 1986, and his entry into the Navy was delayed because he contracted mono in the spring-summer of 1986.
Too much smooching.
He was a sonar tech in the Navy. He was stationed in San Diego from 1986 to 1987, and from there he went to Long Beach, where he was from 1988 to 1990.
Okay, so he did love San Diego.
He did love San Diego.
As he claims to do.
Who among us, though? Who among us does not? So he broke his ankle playing softball in spring of 1987 and spent most of his time in the military on limited duty. He did not have any sort of flight training. I met him in San Diego early 1987, and we were only talking when he broke his ankle. And we actually started dating after he returned from his recuperation. We got married in September, right before I was due to be transferred to Great Lakes Naval Base. Those were the days before cell phones and the internet, and the reason to get married was because otherwise we would never see each other again.
Oh, God.
I was 19 and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't bother to tell his mother until after we were married, and that was when I found out he had a fiance back home. I was going to get an annulment, but then I discovered I was pregnant.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I was kind of like, how do you become estranged from your wife at 23?
Exactly.
Exactly. He received a medical discharge from the Navy and enrolled at Boise State in January of 1990. So then she says, his mother is an idiot, and her great advice was that a woman always assumed more responsibility in a relationship than a man, and I might as well accept that fact and go back to him.
Gross.
Wow. Okay.
She says, as you can see by the timelines, there was no chance that he would have had any time for any type of special ops or flight training. Mm-hmm. Being able to build an engine is not remarkable, and I know plenty of teenage boys that work on their own vehicles. Mm-hmm. He was coddled and raised by a woman that excused his lies and never made him be accountable for any of his own actions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That mother probably knew he was lying on the phone call.
Gross.
And that's the story of Tyler Beale.
Girl.
Oh, my God.
Excellent work.
Gotta love an amnesia.
One of my favorite segments ever, I have to say.
All right. So this is the wanted segment of Joseph Maloney. In March 1967, 27-year-old June Maloney of Rochester, New York, walked out on her husband Joseph after 5 years of emotional and physical abuse. Mm-hmm. In an informal agreement, June took custody of the couple's 2 children. Joe would be allowed to visit them whenever he wanted. Neil Dunkelberg, a family friend, I don't know if you guys remember his interviews.
Yes. I didn't remember that was his last name.
Yeah.
But I do
There are
remember
some
his
junkie.
characters in this one.
Yes. He says, June confided in me that Joe had roughed her up a couple times. He didn't hit her, she wasn't bruised, but he wasn't above his flaring Irish temper of turning bright red, jumping around, hollering and yelling and looking very dangerous, and perhaps grabbing a hold of you and shaking you.
Okay.
And that's pretty intimidating.
Yeah. That's also called domestic abuse.
Yeah. Nothing enrages me more than the term roughed her up.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's called spousal abuse.
Yes.
Well, and also, he's like, it's not like he gave her a black eye. He didn't break her arm. You know.
Yeah.
He shook her. And the way he described him, if you don't think that he was picturing an angry leprechaun, you're wrong.
Seriously.
Jumping around.
Jumping around like a red-faced Irishman. He's like, who took me gold?
Like, you know, he's Irish. Yeah, he's downplaying some truly actually scary behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then there's a reenactment of Joe at Neil's house. So they start the reenactment before Stack explains what's happening. And as they start the reenactment, Joe is asking Neil what he could use to kill a dog but not leave any trace.
Oh my gosh.
Stack explains that Joe Maloney paid Neil Dunkelberg an unexpected visit, and Neil was an amateur chemist who had a lab in the basement of his mother's home.
Okay.
We need to talk about that. He is an amateur chemist that lives with his mom and keeps his, like, that is...
And then he was like old.
Yes!
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this before. I think a lot of times somebody moves away as their mother or
Right,
whoever becomes
okay.
older, they move back in with them to care for them, and they keep the family home.
I was
think
just
that's how
like,
that goes down.
where did you ever leave after you were a child, or did you just establish your own chem lab in your mother's basement?
And what else do amateur chemists do besides make meth?
That was my thought initially, but it turns out that they just have jars of poison laying around. I'm an amateur chemist, you know, strychnine, arsenic, the usual.
What is
I
the
know.
point?
I know. I had the same thought. I'm like, what do you do with that? What are you doing?
So weird.
So Neil says that Joe told him there was a dog that kept tipping over his garbage cans and giving him fits.
So I'm going to kill it.
And again, everyone's fine with it.
Yeah.
So Neil says he told him he would like to poison the dog, but he was a little bit shaky about doing this because the dog belonged to a policeman that lived in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And I was like, what the fuck?
This is a whole story.
Let's maybe be concerned that your friend is trying to kill his neighbor's dog.
Yes.
Maybe recommend that he just lock the lids to his garbage cans and not kill dogs.
Yeah, or go ask the neighbor, could you not let your dog do that? I don't know.
Yeah. Stack says that Joe became particularly interested in a chemical that was odorless, tasteless, and lethal when ingested in sufficient amounts. So they don't ever mention in the segment at all what it is, but it's wood alcohol or methanol.
Oh, methanol. Okay. He's like, I'm going to kill this dog. Probably no one's going to care, but I need it to be odorless.
I know.
Because I don't want the dog to smell it. Tasteless, because I don't want the dog to smell it. And untraceable, because I don't want the police to do an autopsy on it.
Yeah.
Totally. So Neil just gives a creepy interview. I don't know what his deal is. I don't think he's a bad guy, but he's maybe not a good guy either. So Neil is either like guilty of helping Joe be diabolical, or he's genuinely so dumb that he doesn't think this is weird. But he goes in his interview, when Joe comes in and picks my mind about something like this, immediately afterward, I would start thinking, why did he want to know that? He turns to the side with his hand on his chin. So Neil says he became cautious and eventually came to his senses about this, and he realizes he should not let Joe have the poison. So he puts a double lock on the side door of his lab, and he lets his family know that no one should be able to go in there, especially not Joe. Mm-hmm. Continuing Neil's interview, he says, unfortunately, it didn't work. My younger sister was at home 2 weeks later, and Joe showed up at the house and sweet-talked her into letting him into my laboratory because he said he needed to sterilize some instruments.
And honestly, she was really scared.
Yeah.
If she said no and she's by herself.
He was a forceful type of person,
Yeah.
so...
Even in the reenactment, she's like, if you say it's okay, he's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, in the reenactment, he's like, I just need a little bit of this. And she's like, okay, just a little. So Stack tells us that 2 weeks later, there was a 5th birthday party for June and Joe's son at Joe's house, and she attended and stayed for a couple of hours. June's friend, Wanda Mordanga, we love Wanda.
We love.
Says that while June was at Joe's, she had, quote, called up and was kind of wound up different than when she left. I think what she's trying to say is she changed from when she got there to when she was leaving the party.
Yeah.
Wanda says that she asked June how many drinks she'd had, and she said 2. So clearly she's asking her that because she's not acting right.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the reenactment of Joe giving her a drink. Does it taste okay? The actor playing him is good. He's creepy.
He fits the part for sure. So Wanda says that June went back to her apartment and Wanda went over to check on her. Wanda is a queen. She's just like, this isn't right. I'm going to go over there.
She's the kind of friend you want.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. She goes over to check on her and she asks her, do you want me to stay with you? June says no, she didn't really feel well, so she was going to go to bed. Stack tells us that the next morning, Wanda went back over there. Joe was out in the hallway of June's apartment with a doctor. So Wanda's like, what's going on? What are you doing? And Joe says June wasn't feeling well, so he called the doctor over. Wanda says she's going to go in and check on June. And Joe's like, oh, no, Wanda, I don't think that's a good idea. And the doctor's like, that's fine. She can go in there. And Wanda's like, I'll just be a couple minutes. Like, she's just like,
Yeah.
We all need a Wanda in our lives. She's the best. Wanda says she went to check on June, and June made it really clear that she didn't want to be left alone with Joe and that she wanted Wanda to stay with her.
So scary.
So scary. So in the reenactment, June is telling Wanda that the doctor thought her illness was just food poisoning, but she was like, I don't think so. She's like, I think it's something else. So then, as she's explaining this to Wanda, she abruptly stops talking and looks up and has, like, fear in her eyes. And as Wanda turns around, Joe is standing in the doorway. So in the reenactment, Joe comes in and asks if he can do anything for June. And she's like, no. And she tries to get up, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm going to go get some aspirin in the bathroom. And he's like, well, I can get you aspirin. And she's like, no, it's fine. I got it. She goes towards the bathroom. Joe starts following her. So Wanda, like, follows in between. And Joe grabs Wanda by the shoulder and he's like, look, I told you I don't want you here. And Wanda's like, I'm just trying to help. And he's like, who wants your help? And she's like, June is my friend. And then June's like, I want her here. Like, what are you doing?
Can you imagine if one of our husbands said that to one of us? Trying to help each other, like, I'd be like, well, I'm calling, you're a murderer. Immediately, I know you're about to murder her.
That would be the last thing they ever said before they had to obtain a fucking lawyer. Like, that would
Exactly.
be the last thing. They would not say anything else, because then the next time they would speak, it would be to a police officer. Because I would be like, get the fuck out of my way.
Yes.
Yep. So June tries to just, like, break it up, and she's like, if you want to help, go to the store and get me some pop.
Pop!
It was so cute. So he agrees to go to the store and get the pop. So Stack tells us that the next day, June lapsed into a coma and had to be immediately hospitalized. Doctors did every test, but they couldn't find a cause for June's rapid deterioration. Wanda said the situation seemed hopeless. Stack also says that Joe seemed unfazed by his wife's condition, and in the reenactment, he provides the doctor with his own full diagnosis of what he thinks is going on.
Gross.
So he says they've been separated, and lately June has been despondent and not getting along with people at work, not getting along with their son, and he really thinks that there's a chance she has attempted suicide.
And is he saying that to cover his own ass if they find something?
Yeah, if they find poison.
Oh my gosh, what an asshole.
Because I think his little brain starts turning, and he's like, oh, maybe they'll be able to tell what she took. Like,
idiot.
So Wanda says Joe tried to convince her that June had committed suicide and that she shouldn't talk to anyone about anything. Wanda says she didn't think that June would commit suicide, but she was afraid that somehow they would make it look like that. Stack tells us that sadly June never regained consciousness, and on June 5th, 1967, she died. An autopsy determined that June had ingested a lethal dose of the same type of chemical that Joe had taken from Neil's lab.
I wonder if there is any way to find that someone's been poisoned before they die. Like, what could they do to save her if they had known that before she died, you know? Or is it a lost cause at that point?
at that
Can they
point,
be too far gone? Yeah.
it might be too far because if you can't pump her stomach or something.
Oh, God.
That's true.
So sad.
So 4 hours after June's death, Joe was arrested and charged with first-degree murder.
Bye.
So that had me wondering, did Neil call up and was like, hey, guys, I just heard about this? Because that's really fast.
I might have messed up, guys.
My sister also might have messed up.
My enthusiasm for chemistry may have gotten me into a bit of trouble.
So, yeah, I don't know how that happened so fast, but they narrowed in on it. So Wanda says it was a shock. She couldn't believe Joe would do that to June. Stack tells us that against his lawyer's advice, Joe asked to be checked into the state mental hospital for psychiatric evaluation, and the court granted his request.
Oh, this part.
They were unaware that Joe had worked at that hospital and was familiar with the layout.
How were they unaware? How? Did they know? How? Oh, my God.
There should even be like a rule if you've worked somewhere, you can't be checked into that place. Like,
Right. Even if you do have to go to a psychiatric
I hope it's a
facility or
rule
something.
right now.
That's true. Right.
I hope it's called the Joe Maloney law.
So, on September 25th, 1967, less than 2 weeks after being admitted, Joe escaped from the hospital and disappeared. And the reenactment is so ridiculous.
It's so bad. He's like, bangs the door.
He is the loudest,
Yeah.
most least sneakiest escapee of all time.
The least low key I have ever seen anyone be.
So it's kind of like his window looks out to like where the exit would be. So he like peeks out there. There's literally not a soul around, but he clomps. It sounds like he's wearing 5 pairs of flip-flops. Clomping down the hallway, out the door, and sprints away.
Even for a low security like place, that was a lot of noise.
Oh my God, so much noise. So doesn't mention this, but an article said that Maloney used a key he made from a piece of electric razor to escape with.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone soft. Like, we should know those things.
Yeah, we
should
need
know
these
those
skills.
things.
What are we doing?
We're spending too much time on that TikTok and not enough time making keys out of razor blades, ladies.
I can't believe that's not a TikTok series.
It probably is. Let's look it up. So, and then just as a side note, this wasn't in UM either, but Maloney he was a licensed pilot. So when he went on the run, they had to man every airport in the vicinity, like anywhere near, because they were like, he gonna fly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my God.
But nobody found him at any airports. So 5 years later, authorities in Dublin, Ireland are called to investigate a burglary at the home of a Michael O'Shea. Wendy Evans Lehman is interviewed of the DA's office of Monroe County, New York, and says the police knew Michael O'Shea. He had no criminal record in Ireland. They were there to look for burglars' prints. Standard procedure is to get prints of everyone else in the house so as to eliminate them. It's how they do it. Captain George P. Rice, who's retired at the time, Rochester NYPD, says that the detective sent the prints right away to Interpol and, quote, he had a hit. Michael O'Shea's fingerprints matched Joseph Maloney's.
You would think he would have been burglarized, but be like,
I don't
this
care.
is too close to me getting found out. I'm not going to call the police.
I'm not
going
to call the police.
Why would he risk that?
Also, I love that Irish detective being like, what is this American actually doing here?
Well, and I think, again, it's that, like, thing where it's like,
Confidence.
It's been 5 years, I'm good, you know? Like,
I mean, I've forgotten about it. Everyone else has probably forgotten about it, too.
Maybe he also did not know about Interpol, too.
yeah,
Who
true,
knows?
true.
You see that, though, with murderers, and the cops are like, can I take your DNA? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen?
What do you think is going to happen?
You can't lie out of that. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so this also wasn't in UM, but he had just been working there as a bartender in the Dublin area, and he had remarried also while he was living in Dublin.
Well,
Maloney could not be arrested because Ireland and the U.S. had no extradition agreement.
Isn't that wild? Can you imagine?
Wild to me. I don't get how all this works, really.
no. So does that mean he can just be free?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
So Michael O'Shea was under surveillance for 11 years in anticipation of an extradition treaty.
What?
11 years.
Then in 1984, it finally came. So after 18 years on the lam, Joseph Maloney, a.k.a. Michael O'Shea, was finally taken into custody.
Oh, my God.
Meanwhile,
So
he
Joe
gets to live 18 years. He gets to have a whole new family.
That's crazy.
He gets to live a whole second life. And this woman
Yeah.
has been dead the entire time. Disgusting.
So Joe was held for 14 months at Mount Joy Prison outside Dublin. He was held without bail, and the whole time he denied that he was Joseph Maloney. And the guy that actually in court identified him was a Rochester police officer who lived next door to him for 17 years in New York.
He's like, Joe, stop.
Joe,
He's like,
you said you
"Hi."
were going to kill my dog.
Yeah.
Probably was his dog.
Remember my dog?
Oh my God.
It'd be funny if the dog came and pointed him.
It was you. This guy killed his wife and left his children and killed their mother.
I mean, he
Is
doesn't care
the
about
ultimate
them.
dick bitch. He's the worst.
The ultimate dick bitch. Such a dick bitch, in fact, that Stack says he refused to cooperate with authorities and wouldn't allow himself to be photographed. I was like, what? How did it? Can't they just make him?
Yeah.
It's jail.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So the segment ends there, and there is an update that simply states Maloney is still wanted. We don't usually see that, but it was just like, Joseph Maloney is still wanted.
They're like, we don't know either. We don't know.
So, more of the story. There was an article from 1985 about how O'Shea had requested a bail hearing, and it said that this happened 2 days after Maloney ended a 16-day hunger strike protesting the order for his extradition.
Oh.
What? This guy.
Are you Gandhi? What are you doing?
Gandhi, but he's fighting for garbage. Like,
For all the wrong reasons.
exactly.
UM does not mention this either, but apparently in 1986, Maloney made a couple different escape attempts. The first attempt was with another inmate, and they used a roughly constructed rope ladder, and this was unsuccessful, and it involved the suspension of 3 prison guards. So, not sure what their involvement was, but... And then later in 1986, a suspected jailbreak was uncovered that may have involved a $50,000 bribe to a guard to bring in explosives. And Joe was an explosives expert, actually, so that all adds up.
I'm sure he was.
So after this, Ireland decided to move Maloney to a top security prison, quote, that holds only terrorists in the Irish Republican Army.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So he was moved there under heavy guard, and apparently he was the only non-terrorist prisoner in the whole place.
And I would not want to be in that prison.
I would not either.
Honey, no. But don't worry, Joe was protected. They kept him separate from the other inmates. And he was on guard 24 hours a day. They had someone watching him.
Oh, my God.
So, in 1986, the Irish-American extradition treaty was voided due to a legal technicality. So an appeal was made by another American facing extradition. His name was James H. Gilliland, who was wanted for a $9 million fraud scheme in New York City. The court ruled that the treaty did not receive the required parliamentary approval. So it was voided. So July 24th of that year, Maloney was released from prison.
What the heck?
Because they just couldn't hold him anymore after this. It's just so wild.
Oh, my gosh.
An article from the U.S. right after Maloney's release said that the Rochester police believed that Maloney may try to go underground through contacts he had developed with the Irish Republican Army.
No kidding. You don't want to put him with those guys.
A paramilitary group working to free Northern Ireland from British rule.
Ay, ay, ay.
In November of 86, the extradition treaty was ratified, which would allow Maloney to be extradited. But George Rice, the same policeman I was telling you that identified him, said that he doubted Maloney would stay long enough to fight any court battle. Quote, "The only thing I can say is that I know Joe Maloney, and he would wait until the last minute, would have made friends, and then will disappear. Quote, the police department in the area knows him very well and would keep tabs on him, but it's my feeling he'll disappear and they won't find him," Rice said.
Oh, wow.
February 13th of 1987, a request for Maloney's extradition to the U.S. was approved by the Irish government. But of course, Irish federal police were unable to locate Maloney. The Irish police had been trying to keep tabs on him, but because he was no longer charged with a crime, they couldn't keep close contact with him, and he disappeared again. So this is like the blurb from Fandom with the results. So the results just say wanted. Today, Joe would be in his early 80s. When he was last seen, he was 6 feet, 2.5 inches tall with blue eyes, red hair, a slender build, and a scar over his right eyebrow. He is still wanted in the United States because his life sentence still stands and can't be reduced by his imprisonment in Ireland. Authorities believe that he used his contacts with the Irish Republican Army to go underground and hide from police. Due to how much time has passed, the authorities are speculating that he might be dead, but this is yet to be confirmed.
Whoa.
So wait, I missed it. Why was he in the prison and never actually extradited to the United States? Why'd they have to let him go?
Because the treaty was voided.
Oh.
Voided due to a technicality.
Oh,
Yeah,
so he
there was
just got
something about
lucky.
the process they didn't do quite right.
Oh.
So it basically bought him a couple more years.
Oh my.
And then he made connections in that top security
This
prison.
lucky bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
So the only other things, I just had a couple comments from unsolved.com that I pulled. One was from a man named George, and it said, "This man lives in Scottsdale, Arizona." And then UM commented back and was like, "Hey, please submit a tip." Asking. And then this comment was from Mimi, and it's from July 2020. And it says, "I called in a tip once. It was in 2012, I think. I had just watched the program, then decided to go out for a cup of coffee at a local cafe. I heard someone speaking English, so I struck a conversation with him. I'm guessing this is an Irish person.
Mm-hmm.
He told me his name was Michael from Ireland, but he had an American accent. I found that odd and didn't say anything. I told him where I am from, a town not far from Rochester, New York. The man then looked uncomfortable, then said he had a brother who lived not far from there. I immediately knew it was him. I left messages with Crime Watch but got no answer. Then I called the FBI. They thought I was a joke when I said I saw him on Unsolved Mysteries, but I knew. I had other details to share, but no one ever got back with me."
What?
So I don't know.
But that could have been in another country, because they wouldn't say, "I heard someone speaking English in Ireland."
Yeah. And they also wouldn't say he said he was from Ireland, but he was American.
Yeah, so that must have
Yeah,
been
that's
somewhere else. Which,
But I
where
mean, the
was
chances
that?
of watching Unsolved Mysteries and then seeing the person featured on Unsolved
very
Mysteries
slim, very slim.
in a foreign country when you're both from two other countries is like that big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think the Scottsdale one, I don't think he would return to the U.S. That just seems
No.
like really
He
dumb.
doesn't have to. I mean, he was totally happy living in Ireland for
Well, and
over a
what
decade.
got him out of all of this is moving away. Why would he ever
Yeah.
go back?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he would ever come back.
His poor kids. That is the saddest shit ever.
Yeah.
I know. So he would be in his mid-80s if he's still alive, but I tend to agree that he's probably dead if nobody has.
Not if you're throwing fits like that all of the time. That takes
He's throwing
years.
fits.
Right.
That takes years off your body.
Oh my
Totally.
gosh. That is really, what a dick bitch. That makes me so mad, and that is so sad.
Yeah.
I know. And it's just like those little legal loopholes just...
Oh,
He was able to just disappear.
they get you every time. I mean, next time Parliament needs to remember to sign off on that thing that they forgot to sign.
Ugh, Parliament. Come on.
Seriously. Yep, so that's it. Baloney.
So next episode will be part 2 of episode 3. And I have an unexplained segment about Jesus' cloth, the Shroud of Turin.
And then I have an unexplained death segment, and it is about Ethel Kidd.
Okay, so come back for that. And in the meantime, you can leave us a review, and we would love to see them and read them, and they really help us. Hashtag bury the 1 stars, our famous campaign. And when you do that, you also help out an organization that will donate $1 to for every review that we receive. And this month's is Life After Hate. And you can also go to patreon.com/Resolved Mysteries Podcast and support us there. If you subscribe at the $5 a month level or higher, you'll get ad-free episodes, 2 extra episodes a month, and some goodies in the mail. To see photos we reference in the episode, follow us on Instagram at Resolved Mysteries Podcast and on Facebook and Twitter at Resolve the Pod. You can contact the show at resolvedmysteriespodcast.com, resolvedmysteriespodcast@gmail.com, or at our P.O. Box 14005, Portland, Oregon 97293. And last but not least, we love to make listener short stack episodes where we read you the letters that you've written to us. So please continue to do that, especially if you have nostalgia around the show, Unsolved Mysteries, if you have a favorite you're tied to a cold case. If you are a wanted criminal, we'd love to hear from you.
Just let us know. Send a little comment.
Send us a postcard.
If you're Paul Beal's ex-wife, Stephanie, we absolutely want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Or if you're Meg the Egg, we also want to hear from you.
Meg the Egg.
Yes.
And so you can reach us at any of those places I mentioned above. And we absolutely adore you.
We love you so.
We're obsessed with you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It is May. Oh, no. Is it June?
Well, this would be coming out in June.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What's
Like,
yeah?
I'm like, wait a minute.
In reality, this is the
right.
first day
It comes,
of May.
You are
It comes
correct
out on May.
that this is May.
And this comes out on May 31st, so that's why we did it.
I was about to be like, guys, it's April.
Wow. How long will it take for us to recover from that lost year where time meant nothing?
Welcome to
Seriously.
the space-time continuum of our lives.
Welcome to How to Use a Calendar with Karlin,
Sorry.
Alison, and Eliza.
So actually, it's going to be June tomorrow. And tomorrow, from when they're listening to this.
Oh, no. All right, just start over.